Okay, so I'm going to be talking about an initiative that just launched in August called Edit Media, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion in Teaching Media. I teach in journalism and screen studies, and I'm very interested in the notion of inclusion in media production. So this all came about partly because I served as the chair of the Gender Caucus of the University Film and Video Association, which is the primary academic organization for faculty who teach in film and video. And for years, we had conversations about the problematic content in our student films. Especially the replication of problematic stereotypes from Hollywood films and violence against women. So a few years ago, we co-published an article that was a response to an article that had come out 30 years earlier that was decrying the same problems. And in this article, we kind of recognized that nothing had changed in 30 years. And we provided some possible solutions. But meanwhile, as you may have heard in a shocking plot twist, Hollywood has a major diversity problem. And this continues to go on with this huge number of statistics I provided here. The exclusion of people who are not wealthy, straight, white men in Hollywood, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, is staggering, and also has not budged in the past couple of decades. In addition, 2017 presented itself, is continuing to present itself. We've seen this rash of sexual harassment allegations, which is partly revealing the toxicity within the Hollywood industry. So these kinds of things that are happening in Hollywood are very much providing the model of the way you're supposed to approach media production for our students. And that's a big problem, and something that we at UFVA and the Gender Caucus wanted to change. So of course, this is the model that impacts our students, but we're also recognizing that there are things that we can do to make our production classrooms more inclusive so that we're training students to go out into these industries and change the way they function. So that's where the idea of creating an initiative like Edit Media came in. So this past semester in the winter, I conducted a bunch of research, sent out surveys to students to really identify, students in media production programs, to identify what the barriers for inclusion were for them. 26% of them said that they had felt excluded because of their identity in these classes, largely because there were no examples shown to them that featured people like them. I conducted an interview with 149 faculty in media production programs across the country. 90.5% of those faculty suggested that we need to be doing better to promote inclusion in our media production classrooms. And then I also conducted a series of focus groups with faculty and students around the country, representing a variety of different kinds of institutions and backgrounds, to further identify what are the problems that we are encountering that make us not able to fully include all of our different students in these classrooms, and what are we doing right? What do we need to be doing more of? So all of this research, together with a good literature review of inclusive teaching, led to the development and launch of Edit Media this past August. And Edit Media is an initiative that takes the form of a website that provides a set of resources and tools for faculty to immediately put inclusive teaching practices into action in their classrooms. So one of the main things we developed was the Edit 10, Best Practices for Inclusive Teaching in Media Production, which is just sort of a set of short, pithy practices that we want to encourage faculty across the country to use right away. And some of these are really simple, but aren't actually being put into practice in the way you might expect. So even something like screen widely. Screen examples from media that include people of diverse identities on screen and that are made by people of diverse identities behind the scenes. You make sure that you're modeling to your students that people who look like them or come from backgrounds like them have a place in the media industries. And that's a really simple thing that faculty can do that they're clearly not doing because students have told us that they're not doing it, that can make students see that they have a place. We also developed the Edit 5, Advice from Faculty to Administrators on Leadership for Inclusive Media Production Programs, recognizing that inclusive teaching isn't something that only the faculty can do. We also need hiring practices that provide for the hiring of diverse faculty members. And then finally, we produce the Student 7 in conjunction with, or collaboration with a number of students, which is sort of a best practices for inclusive learning for students. It's something that we can present to students at the beginning of a semester that offers practices for students to be collaborators, to themselves make sure that they're screening widely and being inclusive to other students in the classroom. So the website also has a variety of other resources that are useful within and without media production. Simply a big, long bibliography of research on inclusive teaching specific to media production. But for those of you in the room who are not involved in media production, there's also a wide range of resources on inclusive teaching in general. So additional teaching resources that point to a whole bunch of different things that can be useful for inclusive teaching, including creating a trans-friendly classroom, dealing with issues of students with disabilities, managing conflict and resistance, which I think we're probably experiencing a lot more of under the current political climate. And then the heart of the website, or what I view as the heart of the website, which is a searchable database of inclusive teaching materials that includes video clips from diverse makers and featuring diverse casts, syllabi, exercises, assignments that can all be searched by keyword. As we'll see in the next slide, an example of an assignment that, again, could be adapted for use in the classroom right away. Keywords are associated with each of these assignments, so depending on the pedagogical goal you're trying to achieve, you can easily find a teaching resource that would match. And I would mention that a lot of these are adaptable to other fields, so this isn't necessarily limited only to courses that teach media production. And then lastly, I've been involving undergrads in this process as well. Again, a set of undergrads that helped with the production of the Student 7. Jenna Kropel, who graduated in JASS this past year, served as a research assistant, and I'm excited to bring on Zara Colley, who's a comm major, who will be joining the project in a few weeks, helping to make it better. So that is Edit Media. Again, it's living right now as a website that you can visit at editmedia.org, and we'll be working in the future to spread it around to seek adoption, formal adoptions, and endorsements from film schools and media production programs across the country. Thank you.